good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Black News Network. We in America have reached a new milestone of problems with our infrastructure. So today we want to dove into a whole scenario about what's going on in America, and we want to let you know how dangerous it is or how safe it is to travel by land, sea, or air in America. Joining me today is our co-host, Mr. Claude Foster. I'd like to bring him on in just a second, but first, let me just tell you about the logistics. We would love for you to go to our Facebook page and like us or leave us a message. We would also love for you to go to our YouTube page and subscribe to our channel. All these efforts are in an effort to help us understand what's happening here in America, as well as to help our general population out here so we can learn and we can be ready when things start to happen here. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce my co-host and friend, Mr. Claude Foster. How you doing, Mr. Claude?
How you doing, my brother? How's everything going today?
Oh, it's going just fine, man. And you?
I'm doing good. Good. Can't complain.
Is Houston still standing? I mean, the water's still low, right?
Well, those hurricanes keep coming, so we're still standing.
That's all right.
The dock, huh? The dock workers went back to work, so
yeah.
We're
about
a beautiful thing, ain't it? You know that was going to happen.
But then I heard him say something about $5 raise. What was that? Did you hear what they settled on?
Well, they was asking for they got the money part taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's still at issue is automation and how automation is going to affect, the dock workers. Because some of those ports, like in California, are fully automated.
Yeah, so that was like Long Beach.
So that was the other issue. But I knew the strike wasn't going to last through the holidays. There's too much money involved.
Ooh, and then you see how people were running to the store already.
Already buying up stuff, and yeah.
Did you go? You didn't go.
No, I was going to, but you're going to go and stock up on water and tissue and, basic necessities.
Yeah,
did you go and stock up?
No, I keep usually 3 or 4 cases of water, and a case of toilet paper on backup,
Yeah, we do too.
So I'm pretty set.
Yeah.
So this infrastructure thing that we're about to delve into, we'll talk about stuff like that. The most recent situation we've encountered is the hurricane that went across Florida on up the East Coast. And flooded so many different areas. Last time I heard, there was over 160 people dead, not from the hurricane, but from the flooding that came after the hurricane. Did you hear anything else about it?
Well, it's what I heard, like because of all that rain and the reservoirs were overflowing and stuff, they had to release a lot of water. And I think that's why a lot of those towns, there are conspiracy theories out there.
Mm-hmm.
Why those areas flooded, some of those are rich and you rent and some of the natural resources you need for AI and other kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know a lot of those towns didn't want a lot of those companies to expand. So just like in Katrina, there's a lot of theories out there as to why it was flooded like that. I mean, we are talking about areas up in the mountains.
Yeah.
That's a lot of water at that elevation. And some of those locations never flooded in the history of those towns.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into the whole sundown town theories, Montezuma's revenge kind of talk. So it's quite interesting. I just know a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sorry for a lot of those people though.
It's sad, ain't it?
Really, really sad.
I watched some houses just get washed off of their pillars into the ocean, and those are properties that's been there for hundreds of years.
And that part of North Carolina,
flood. This is 1,000-year flood, huh?
That part of North Carolina, up in those mountains, that's real pretty up in there. Big tourist area, but like the Interstate 40 just got completely washed out. Those people are cut off. You can't even get supply unless you helicopter them or
Mm. That's
Which
quite a bit, though, to have to contend with that. But I did a little research and I came up with quite a few major catastrophes had happened here in America, and
mhm.
most of the catastrophes were surrounding hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, and fire.
Mm-hmm.
Those things have almost devastated this country. I mean, all over the place, these hurricanes are just wreaking havoc and making people do an assessment on what's going to happen here, whether you're going to stay put or you're going to evacuate. And most of the time, you can't just wait on the government to tell you to evacuate. If you see it on the news that this big ass hurricane is coming your way, it behooves you to move uphill, get off the coast.
Those two,
Huh?
I find this whole discussion around what's happening, I find it interesting. Like Kamala Harris, the Biden administration has promised $765 per family, and we're spending thousands on the war in Israel
Billions. Yeah.
and other places. We can't even take care
$765.
of a person. Yeah, I mean, and we're spending 10 times, twice that much on immigrants and other issues. I just find that ironic.
Yeah. And then we got 30 days until the election or less, probably 29 to 30 days.
I'm up 30. Yeah, it's getting close. You voted yet? No, we don't start voting here.
Tuesday is the first day for early voting for us in San Antonio.
Yeah, it's the same throughout the state. Yeah.
All right, so we'll hit it. I'll be out there Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
Because I want to get it done and get it done early.
Right.
I don't want to get caught up with the stuff that's going to be happening when it gets time to crunch time. So let's welcome you all to the Black News Network, the real voice of Black USA. Our topic and discussion today is from the desk of the Emissary. I'm your host, Warren Smith Bay, with my co-host, Mr. Claude Foster. We are broadcasting under the War Report. I want to say thank you to our sponsors, and we are broadcasting from a Black point of view. We do not own the rights to the music, but we do own the rights to what we say. I want to stress that fact. We do not own the rights to any music you may hear on our broadcast. So with that aside, moving into our discussion, the first thing I have on here is the Infrastructure Investment and Job Act, where the federal government and a bipartisan agreement has allocated $1.2 trillion to our economy to help with the infrastructure. But the thing is, you see a lot of building going on, but it doesn't look like it's trying to prevent. You can't really prevent hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. But only thing I see happening really is highways. Like here coming through San Antonio, they're doing a double decker all the way to Austin. Seem like.
Well, let me just let our audience know about what Texas gets from that $1 trillion budget. Can expect to get $26.9 billion in highway aid. So the bulk of it is going for highway construction. $537 million for bridge replacement and repairs. $3.5 billion over 5 years to improve public transportation, which is probably a large percentage of it going to go to the high-speed rail service from Dallas to Houston. $408 million over 5 years to expand EV charging networks. $100 million in broadband infrastructure investment. $53 million to protect against wildfires. $42 million to protect against cyber attacks. $2.9 billion to improve water infrastructure, and $1.2 billion for airport development. So that's where the money's going in Texas.
Okay. So we'll touch on each of those topics because those are pretty much the same thing I got too. And I think those are where our discussion should go. So talking about this infrastructure act that they talked about, what, 4 years ago, and it's slowly starting. We're starting to see some action out here on our highways. But in reality, let's talk about the most important one first: is the power grid. Do you see anything on the power grid? But I saw something on the power grid. Electric, no, that's vehicles. I did see something on the power grid, but it doesn't. It says that people of color. It didn't say black people or Mexican people, but you know that's what they're talking about. Suffer more from power outages in this country than anybody else. I mean, go ahead.
Well, it's funny you brought up the people of color because we are a black show, right? Let me
Yeah,
just read something to you here.
go ahead.
But the white people of the country, as well as I, wish to see the colored people progress. Segregation is not humiliating, but a benefit, and ought to be so regarded by you, gentlemen. If your organizations go out and tell the colored people of the country that it is a humiliation, they will so regard it. But if you do not tell them so and regard it rather as a benefit, they will regard it the same. The only harm that will come be if you cause them to think it is a humiliation. Woodrow Wilson in 1914.
Mhm.
You talk about. I always tell people about the Martin Luther King streets in America, right? Y'all got a Martin Luther King right there in San Antonio.
Yeah, we do.
And you look at the infrastructure where the Martin Luther King streets are, whether it's Chicago,
Everywhere,
Texas,
all the bigger cities.
the infrastructure is the worst.
Yeah, it is.
Because if we don't value our spaces, and we don't, because we've been told that our spaces are inferior by that movement that we all embraced.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why the power is, when the power goes out, our power is the last.
Yeah, we got the oldest power structure in every city.
Right, because we got the worst infrastructure, worst neighborhood. Because of that, what I just read to you, that was Woodrow Wilson in 1914.
That's a long time ago.
NAACP telling them, don't devalue your own community. If you tell people your situation is bad, they're going to believe it's bad. And look at the investment in the black community to this day. So obviously, talking about infrastructure, none of these trillions of dollars is going to go to our community.
And then when it does, like they did here in San Antonio, the money goes to certain agencies, and these agencies put a grip on that money to where you're gonna have to damn shit bricks to get this money. You cannot get the money that's allocated for you unless you jump through hoops to get it. And so many people are disqualified over the simplest terms and the simplest standards that are not met.
Well,
it's unacceptable.
They're gonna put all these EV stations around the country in different places. You think EV stations in black neighborhoods?
No.
You think the white community is gonna drive to the
We're gonna do $7.5 billion to do that.
And you think any of that's gonna come to our neighborhoods?
No. And the thing is,
to our neighborhoods for nothing, because they're isolated islands.
The thing is on that too, Claude, why is it that we want to do 7.5 billion on these EV stations, electric vehicle stations, charging stations,
right?
When you can easily put a generator on these electric vehicles, and you don't need a 7.5 billion to do this. So it's so much behind the scene of information. I mean, every car you've ever had, and me too, have had a generator on an alternator, a generator, to create power.
But these are electric vehicles. They probably got the technology to do that.
Of course they do. Of course they do. I mean, think about it. All the generator is something that turns through a magnetic field and generates electricity. So the wheels turn on an electric vehicle just like they do on a regular gasoline vehicle. So What is the problem with Tesla, so to speak, or Chevy or GMC or Ford, any of these companies putting a generator or an alternator on these vehicles to keep the batteries charged?
Well, my concern too is not just about the money that comes to Texas or Mississippi or Alabama. How are we going to ensure that those dollars are spent in communities that look like you and me?
I
And what,
figure. Go ahead.
who's who's going to manage that for the Black community?
Mm. Nobody, because I figured something out yesterday when I was in this meeting for voting, uh, learning the whole situation about the voting thing coming up. Why is it that every single year we start our voting plight? We start zeroing in on registering people to vote, talking about voting 6 months right outside of the election. We got so much emphasis on, man, we got to get people to register to vote. We got to get people to understand the ballot. But we knew that this was coming 4 years ago. Why have we waited 6 months before it to really kick it into gear? We are so far behind on political approaches, on money approaches that come from the federal government, that we get what's left over. Even the same with contracting. We fuss so much about every city having giving up Black people, African Americans, less than 1% or 5.5% of the contracts that come out of a particular city.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't go and be proactive about it and find out what's going on next year so we can get a heads up on these contracts that are going to be let by that city. We end up always operating from behind the eight ball. In other words, if somebody get killed in the street, we go and operate marching in the street and after the fact and expecting something to change, and it doesn't. So if we could just get it in our heads that we got to be proactive about some of the issues that we have in our community, maybe we can get something changed. We're not proactive about anything. I don't know one thing that Black people or African Americans are proactive about in this country. Do you?
Well, I think our history has changed, brother. I think when you look at the Black Panthers, they came that wasn't no blacks in Oakland. They came from the South. They migrated from the South. The Black Panther Party got its roots in Alabama, Mississippi, and other places. So the whole notion of Black demands has changed in terms of grassroots organizing, grassroots, grassroots demands. We kind of rely totally on the political structure now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
That's everything, the political structure.
Yeah, and our civil rights groups are nothing more than, they're not really civil rights groups anymore. They're just part of that political infrastructure. So there's really nobody demanding anything in terms of African American communities, in terms of what our communities look like. I mean, you can drive along Dr. Martin Luther King Drive from Mississippi to Chicago to going out west in Portland, Oregon. It looks run down, dilapidated.
And I think they put it up, those MLK boulevards, to keep people from.
Don't you find it ironic that a man whose life was devoted to integrating society represents the most segregated parts of the country? Isn't it kind of ironic that he got the Nobel Peace Prize for his focus on making America better, integrating America, but Martin Luther King's streets are symbolic of segregation?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that kind of ironic?
It is. I don't see where we in 2024. I think we evaluated the Martin Luther King situation, And we figured out that it was not helpful for us to this day. What's beneficial to get your ass whooped and be nonviolent? I don't get the beneficial part of that situation. Do you? I mean, can you shed some light on that? I can't understand why you would want to just get beat and think you're gonna make a change.
Well, I mean, Black Panthers didn't. I mean, you had black organizations that didn't agree with that philosophy then and now. Uh, what's the organization that went to Mississippi that wanted to create the
The new Black Panther Party.
no, it was Choco, the mayor of Mississippi, now his day.
Chokeway.
Yeah, Chokeway. Remember, they belonged to some organization that came to Jackson, Mississippi, and their whole goal was to create this black nation.
Mm-hmm.
And they was going to do it with where most of the blacks were. That's why they settled in Jackson, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Politics took all that away. Politics took the leadership. And I think that's why I think that's why our communities suffer today. I think that's why we haven't really made any progress in our black communities, because I think politics has taken away that infrastructure of that effort. I really do believe that, man.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that you have those voices. I mean, you got different groups out there now, like the new Black Panther Party. You got the Black Muslims. I mean, so you still have groups, but they've been overcome by this political system. And this political system seems to be comfortable with the way Black America is.
Mm-hmm. Because you don't see them jumping at the hoops trying to change anything.
I mean, as bad as the situation was in Texas, and it was bad for everybody. I mean, everybody's power was out, but Black folks experienced some unique problems. Where's the elevated Black leadership that talks about that unequalness in how infrastructure is allocated in this state?
Mm-hmm. We had no representation. I mean, we went through the ballot for the state of Texas, all the districts, all the regions, the precincts, all this stuff, from the state capitol all the way down to representatives, Senate, everything for Texas. Uh-huh. And I only saw probably 2 Black people on there, and that was Barbara Gervin Hawkins for Region 120, and Catherine, I can't think of her last name, but she's the constable in San Antonio. Catherine might have been Williams or something, but either way, Catherine Brown. She's the constable in San Antonio. 2 Black ladies, but I don't see not one Black man in that whole. We went through at least 100 people. Not one Black man was in there. I mean, we saw Hakeem Castro being unopposed and stuff like that, but there's not Black people. I mean, Black people have failed to really get involved in politics to a manner that would make a difference. And that is where I stress my point. We can't keep waiting 6 months out and expect to make a difference in the outcome of an election.
Well, I think part of the problem is, and here we go with this 2-party system, right? We know we have a 2-party system, and we say one party is better than the other party.
Mm-hmm.
We stop right there. We don't look at the allocation within the party. We don't look at the resources within the party. You say that we just now got into this election. They've been in these battleground states for months.
Yeah, they've been going through it for at least the last year or so.
Yeah, they've been in Nevada, they've been in Arizona, so I guess what I'm saying is,
go ahead.
I think we find a comfort. We think that we're equal within the party. We think that the Democratic Party, white leadership, white majority is going to treat the Black community differently. It's not true, without any accountability.
That's like saying you expect the oppressor to give you value or to make you whole.
I'm
oppressing you. I got my foot on your neck for hundreds of years. Do you think I'm going to take my foot off your neck and elevate you higher than I am? Hell no. Why
No.
would I give you anything that could give you opportunity to get better than me?
So
It
so
doesn't happen.
why aren't there
We
more? So why isn't there a wider discussion about the infrastructure bill and how much is allocated to Texas and what impact is that going to have on the black communities in Texas? How is that money going to be spent? Where is it going to be spent? How much of it is going to go to upgrade these these black communities in Texas? I mean, you know,
Nobody's even thinking of it like on that level, Claude. Nobody's thinking about that.
is the power grid
On that level.
power grid going to be buried in our communities, or is it still going to be on poles that are susceptible to, are any of those dollars going to be spent to trim the tree? I mean, just
No,
who's minding the store?
nobody. We got black people in positions, but they're not focused on minding the store. They're focused on keeping that position they got and blending in with the crowd that they are surrounded by. I mean, the moment you bring out your blackness, the moment you try and let people know that you're there for your blackness, then you're ostracized. People say, well, you better stay away from Claude because he's talking too black over there. We don't want that.
But think about
That's what we see.
what I read about what our organizations were saying about our communities and how we're told that that integration basically said that what we had was bad.
Mhm. That's why we wanted theirs. We wanted to be in part of
That's
theirs.
what integration said. Integration said that what we had.
We put it in our mind, but who led the charge
Well,
on putting this in our mind?
well
It's a
Woodrow Wilson was talking to the NAACP.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These plans have been executed from years, I mean, decades back, of how they were going to address our situation. And we started the biggest execution of black awareness was with Martin Luther King and our entire existence of
But
being
if,
free
but if
and
we
recognized.
but if integration was the strategy,
Which
how did that lead to improving something that you're trying to get away from?
it could not. That's the misnomer here. Martin Luther King led all these people down the road to that we need to integrate. We need to turn the other cheek. And on the other hand, Malcolm X was saying, well, we don't take that kind of bullshit. We fight fire with fire. And everybody ostracized him. And then they set people up to kill him. And then when Martin Luther King started to really see what was happening out here, they set him up to get killed too. And he said it when he did coming to the mountaintop sermon. He's seen it. He know that he led us into a house of fire. He knows it, and he wanted that to be changed, and that's why he could not be there anymore.
I
But
think that
nobody messed with the NAACP. Why?
because the NAACP back then was led by who?
White folks. Huh?
The NAACP from its founder. I'm sure, and when Woodrow Wilson was president, the leadership of the
people
are white.
Yeah. Yeah. The NAACP was led by white folks. And that's why today it still exists because there's no threat to the federal government. But
if I tell you your house is bad, and
if the white man tell us our house is bad, then a black man tell us our house is bad, then we're gonna start really believing.
So if I tell you your house is bad, am I going to spend any money?
As a black man or a white man?
But am I going to spend any money?
Huh? Black perspective or white perspective?
I think you're going out.
Okay, it's back now. I felt it doing that too. What is it, a black perspective or white perspective?
Well, I think it's just the perspective. It's how black people and black spaces are viewed. It's like that our humanity is not 100%. The spaces we occupy are not valued. We are devalued. So when we're talking about when we're talking about all these infrastructure dollars, are you going to spend it on something that's devalued? Are you going to spend it on places that are valued?
That's the problem. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna spend it on
I mean,
something that's gonna.
you
Yeah,
got
I want. Let me say this so I can close this, and that way my system will start acting right. I want to open this up because we have more than the Democratic Party and the Republican Party on this ballot. There's the Libertarian Party, there's the Green Party, there's the Independent Party. So
right.
those additional parties, I think we should fall. We should get away from the Democrats and the Republican and move into either the Independent, the Green, or the Libertarian. Well, that's what we got to get away from those two parties because those are the ones who have held us where we are from the first day after the Civil War. Those are the two parties.
Well, we're a two-party country. I mean, I hear what you just said, and I think that people are starting to maybe be a little bit more independent in terms of because we've been under a one-party system for so long, and we see where we are today and the results that we have today. I mean, you got places in Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana that don't have internet service. In 2024, don't have.
That's a big deal on this infrastructure plan too. I mean, they said in this research I was doing today that 60% of Mississippians don't have internet service.
And
hell, you get that high on the list with no internet service. And internet's been around for what, 20 years now? It's been around since the 80s.
Yeah.
So it's been around a long damn time. So why is it that we still have with internet?
Mississippi, just like they did with those welfare dollars, they have made a decision on how to spend that on what's important. If that 60% of Mississippi was important, they'd have internet.
I agree. If it's not important,
and
they said they're going to put a shitload of money into the internet service, though.
How many
high-speed internet? They're going to put They said $65 billion into the high-speed internet for the 30 million people without internet in the United States. 30 million people does not have access to internet in this country, which is ridiculous. China is so far beyond that.
Now listen to what Mississippi gonna spend this money for. 3.3 billion in highway and 225 million for bridge replacement and repairs, 223 million to improve public transportation, 51 million to expand EV charging networks. Okay, now Mississippi, you just mentioned the number 65%. They're gonna get 100 million in broadband infrastructure investment. So who's gonna mind that store to make sure that they spend that investment in the right places, make sure that people don't have that is going to be an equal distribution?
It's not Claude. It's not going to be even.
You got blacks in the legislature.
That money will, if it's $50 billion, 25 billion of those dollars are going to go into somebody's pocket. And it's going to be given to contractors that know the governor. I'm going to give my friend this contract, my nephew that contract. And it's going to be on down the line where nothing will really change.
Right.
It's 10 years from now, it'll be the exact same thing because none of that money, some of that money, 10% of that money got to do the actual part that it was supposed to do. But the rest made people million and billionaires.
Right.
That's what the problem is. And those million and billionaires comes from the people who hold the purse. See, we got to realize that if we don't get into politics, we're not going to hold the purse. And that's what the system is about these days. Go ahead.
Example of that, when affirmative action was approved, you know how many white women-owned businesses were created when affirmative action? White women-owned businesses. Not
a lot.
A lot. Construction businesses.
Roofing businesses. Construction businesses.
System, man. They used that. They took a law that was designed to close that gap from the
between
have
African
not.
Americans and black
Right.
to white.
But
And it never ever made a difference for black.
because no law is ever introduced or passed just for blacks. No law.
And they'll say people of color quickly. They'll say anything but black or African American in any legislation. Yeah, have
Now
you ever seen that in any
we
legislation?
we've been
Not even in the George Floyd Act.
we've been victimized by hate more than any other group in this country. But is there a black hate uh, act? There's an Asian hate act.
Yeah.
Is
There's
there?
a Muslim. There's a what that is, a Israel Semitism hate act.
Yeah.
But there's nothing for us, and we've been more traumatized and abused than anything or anybody. We've been abused more than dogs in this.
Our communities are need more infrastructure dollars than any other communities in this country.
But how do we get the money to us, Claude? We can't get it without politics.
Well, we have I think we collectively have a responsibility to hold our elected officials accountable. We have a responsibility.
It's impossible.
How many shows have you seen on the internet talking about the infrastructure? They talk about it broadly, but not from a black perspective. They talk about it to get black folks to vote for the Democratic Party.
Then when they do give us money, Claude, like when I was down on Houston Street in San Antonio for a few years, I watched them coming through, cleaning up the street, sweeping the street, getting ready to pave the street, right? And then they come through there with this 1/4-inch thick level of tar and put that down. I said, what the fuck is this shit? This is not a fucking street improvement. This is just coloring the street and filling in cracks.
One thing I've learned, my brother.
What?
All infrastructure ain't created equal. Concrete, I didn't know that there were so many different grades of concrete. And because we have a system of contracts, and cities don't install roads and bridges and stuff. They have to contract it out.
Yeah. And
then we got these minority requirements attached to these contracts. Okay. Now, if you're a contractor and the prime gets a $600,000 contract, and you're a subprime. Okay, so you're gonna get the subcontract because the prime needed you to get the contract, right? Because it's got a minority requirement. So you get the part of the contract to go in and put the sidewalks in the black community. Are you gonna go out there and pay top dollar for the best concrete?
You know what? You really don't get that. What you get is the contract to come in there to take up the framework. You don't get to do the work. You get to do the aftermath. The little bit of shit left over. Huh?
When you get that minority contractor, you think he's gonna go out and buy the most expensive concrete?
Hell to the no. You gonna go out and buy the cheapest that you can get away with.
Right. It's gonna look pretty for a day or two.
People think that you doing the city, whoever let the contract, gonna think that you're doing what's right. They really can't say nothing about what you did because you did it.
I don't think the city determines once the city lets the contract, they don't determine the grade of the cement. They
have to. This is a requirement in contracting. If you doing a highway, you gotta specifically say what distance, what grade, what amount of sand, what amount of gravel, what amount of rock, and what amount of cement goes into that mixture.
But there's a difference.
Not that way, then you violated that contract.
But there's a difference.
In the back.
I work with Paul. There's a difference between what the minimum specification is and what the better quality is. You don't have to put the Cadillac version.
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't have to
several levels.
If you're a subcontractor, you don't have to go out there and buy the Cadillac version of that concrete.
If you have a vague description of what they want, you don't have to.
No, but
think about it. If we're doing computers, right, and the requirement now is for the contractor, for the contracting office to go out and get a company to provide internet services. You can come, you can say, all I need you to do is provide internet services. They can come in with a three, they got five now, right? But they can come in with a three because all you said is you just want internet services.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing.
That's the level of internet service.
I'm just saying that because of the contracting laws and the way they're configured, and when the city lets a contract and the prime gets the contract and he got to have that minority participation, especially if it has anything to do with infrastructure, that minority participation gonna get the portion that of that contract that works in that minority neighborhood. And I'm just saying, because of the cost structure and the way it's laid out, that minority contractor is going to be trying to keep most of whatever that money that they got for that portion of that contract.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And let me add this to that, Claude. That minority contractor, that's part that, which is another catch-22 word, that got that part of the contract will get something such that they won't get major framing. They're going to get make ready, cleaning windows. They're going to get installing toilets, installing doors, installing windows. But when it comes to the major layout or the foundation or the roofing or the siding or the shingling or all this heavyweight stuff, they're not going to get that. They're going to get the leftovers of what the major contractor don't want to do. That's what they're going to get. And I'm going to tell you what, let me just say one more thing, because when they tore down Wheatley Courts here in San Antonio, the first thing that the people said is that the black contractors don't have their paperwork in order. So I stood up and said, hey, that's a goddamn lie. Here's my paperwork. Check it. My shit was perfect. But they said, well, how much? Now they went to performance. How much performance do you have? I said, how the hell am I going to have performance when you're saying that all I needed to do was get my paperwork together and I could be on one of these contracts? Now you're saying if I don't have any prior performance that I cannot be on one of these contracts. So it's always a way out for them. And they use that. And it was 400 people in this room. And I'm standing up at the mic arguing with the San Antonio Housing Department director, telling him that that's the bullshit y'all always pull on us. First you say it's the paperwork, and now you move the goalpost, it's the performance now.
Right.
And then when you get a black man,
then it's the bonding. It's always something that
if you get a black person like you or I ain't gonna say we'll do this, but you get a good black person in charge of making sure we get our portion. That organization will buy that black person by lining his pocket. And he ain't gonna say shit, because we had a system here in San Antonio where we were grading every agency, CPS, San Antonio Housing Authority, any other SAWS, all these VIA, all these agencies had a grade A to F, whether on how much black people you were hiring to do contracts, and every one of them got an F. Every month they got an F. But then they started getting D's, and then they started getting C's, and then it went all the way out the window because they started hosting the meetings at these agencies. So if VIA is getting an F, so VIA is going to come at the director of our organization doing this stuff and say, hey, why don't you hold your next meeting over here at our location, and we're going to pay for your catering. We're going to get you transportation. We're going to make sure all the people can get there. We're going to dedicate buses to bring people. They're going to do all this stuff. And plus, we're going to give you this amount of money to make sure everything looks nice. We're going to give you $100,000 so you can get this to look the way you want it to look. Shit, you going to turn that down? No, that's what the problem is. They don't turn it down. And I've seen so many black people that supposed to be representing us fuck us every goddamn time. So it ain't about being black. It's about being in a position to make the change and holding the people accountable, like you said.
Well, but I do think, I mean, you got minorities on city council meetings that oversee when these
minorities on our city council.
Well, y'all don't.
We got Mexicans that they're not the minority; they're the majority. So what? I
Well,
mean, what do you mean?
well, y'all are kind of unique,
We're unique.
but you still got 100,000 black folks up there.
Yeah, you're right. We
To
got
the
a
degree that, I
lot
mean,
of.
you don't have to be. See, this is the irony. You, you got blacks that probably in every one of those districts up there. You don't have to be part of the majority. Black folks can represent everybody else. It doesn't have to be a majority black district.
What happens
I
when
mean, a black person can't represent a majority Hispanic district.
yeah? But I'm asking you a question. What happened when a black man who already attempts to move into this arena is recognized by the power? When they bring him in, what does he do? How, in your experiences, what have you seen them do?
But I think this is an important point. If 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 I'm in District 8, right? What's District 8? Hispanic?
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah.
you say is majority.
People in there.
You say it's majority Democratic.
Yeah.
So how come a black Democrat can't win that district? And why don't a black Democrat run in that district? And all the other districts, we're Democrats, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't
Aren't
even
we
want to claim
Democrats?
that. Right now, I'm a Democrat. I'll say right now, I'm a
So
Democrat.
if a Hispanic can win in a black majority district, why
But
can't a black
black,
win in a Hispanic majority district? Why are they excluded as a Democrat from those districts?
that's $1 million
How
question.
different than being excluded as a Democrat in white districts?
So I wanted to show you a picture because I saw this out when I was out doing my research, and I wanted to see what you thought about this picture that I found
Okay.
about what we're talking about today. And I'm about there. Let's see, where is that? Oh, it's up top. I'm almost there. And when I want to pull this up, and I want you to see this
Okay.
because this is one bridge collapse. But in the United States since 2000, there have been 95 bridges like similar to this that collapsed
Hmm.
or got hit by a truck and burned. You know, something happened where the bridge fell down.
Right.
Uh, um, this is a problem for us in America because our bridges are crumbling. And right now, when we drive down the road, we're driving across hundreds of bridges. If we went from San Antonio to Houston, we're going to cross at least 25 bridges. Now, what's to say them damn bridges? They've been there a long damn time. I mean, the bridges that we cross on our way to Houston or on our way to San Antonio have been there 50 years or more. Most of them. But we're still driving across them like ain't shit wrong. We drive across the city like ain't nothing wrong with these bridges. We're good to go until something like this happens and
Well,
people
well,
get killed. Huh?
well, it's part of human nature, isn't it? I mean, you allocate your resources on things that are right in front of you. I mean, like if you're in your house and
Mm-hmm.
and you got old toilets, as long as they functioning, you're not gonna replace them.
I ain't gonna die on the toilet, man.
Yeah,
But if that bridge fell, I'm dead.
but what I'm saying, the allocation of resources, and then maybe it's who's been in charge the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I believe they know that these bridges are bad, but they like that accident that happened in what was it, Baltimore, Francis Scott Key Bridge, that
well,
got hit by that ship.
but that was an accident. Though.
But
The bridge was
what caused the accident? Faulty wiring on the ship. But that ship had made hundreds of trips across the Atlantic, many trips back and forth. But nobody, just like on these cruise ships, they build these ships perfectly. But over the course of the time, things wear out on that ship, but they don't, like the toilet, they don't get replaced unless they broke. And these ship, let's say if it was a cruise ship that the power went out on a cruise ship, like it did over in Turkey. I think it was Turkey or Italy. One of those ships, the power went out and it drifted into a damn reef, a coral reef, and it flipped over. So what I'm saying is we get shit operating just like our car. We don't change the brakes until we hear it squeak. We don't do maintenance, but airplanes and it's certain things you cannot wait until it fail to change it. Like an airplane, you
Right.
can't wait until the wires break before you replace one to the aileron. Because if you do that, then you're gonna be up there in the air and your ailerons ain't working, so you ain't gonna be able to do nothing but fly in a damn circle.
Right.
So my point is, we have taken corrective maintenance so light that we're killing our own damn selves in America. Look at all the damn incidents that just happened this year with Boeing aircraft. That's a lot. I quit flying in 2006, and I quit because of my knowledge of how airplane maintenance is done.
Well,
I,
let me
and
ask,
I
let me ask,
huh?
let me ask you a question. I hear what you're saying, and but you can't take away from the responsibility of, okay, this administration has come out with this infrastructure bill, right? But we've had two or three other administrations. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is
Mm,
we got all these federal agencies, all these inspectors, all these people that we are paying, right? And
yep, with federal money.
you got the Federal Highway Administration. You got people that inspect bridges. I mean, you got all this money going out to make sure that the citizens stay safe, right?
Right.
So who's making sure that we are safe?
It's supposed to be the people out there
That we're
doing the
paying
check.
them. If the
Do
people,
you think they're going to close down a bridge that's a major artery to a city or away from a city? They're not going to close that bridge down. They're going to do like they do with road closures. They're going to lane it off and say, we're going to fix this side first, but we're going to leave this side open. You know that bridge that goes across the Mississippi River? I mean, they built an entirely new bridge rather than fix the old bridge. They built an entirely new bridge. And now that new bridge is in need of repair. So what are they going to do? Build another new bridge? Or are they just going to keep sending inspectors up there painting over the rust or the tightening up the loose rivets and stuff? They Our people in America have taken too many things too lightly. Look at this chart I just put up there. If you see roads over there, we get a D in our roads. We get a B minus in ports, so that's pretty good. But we get a D plus in aviation. How the hell can you go through high school with a D plus? Hell no. You cannot do very well with a D plus. You're bound to fail on something. You're just a half a point away from an F, or yeah, you're a point and a half away from an F. But bridges, you got to see, and if you see the red arrow beside it, it went down. Look at dams. Man, when these dams break like they have done on the East Coast over there, 160 some people dead already. That's a lot of damn people. Drinking water. I still can't forget about what happened in Flint, Michigan. You think they have fixed those damn pipes? Hell to the no. All this money in this infrastructure investment act ain't fixed the damn pipes in damn Flint, Michigan. They ain't fixed the shit in Jackson, Mississippi. They done put a bunch of temporary damn pumps and filters up,
because
but that shit ain't fixed.
because President Obama went to Flint and drank. Remember that glass of water he drank?
Oh, he drank the glass of water up there.
Yeah, he said it was fine.
And look at what else. See the hazardous mat? They a damn lie if hazardous waste get a D plus. Because once it's hazardous waste, what you gonna do with it? You cannot get rid of hazardous waste. It ain't going nowhere. You can take it and put it inside of a mountain, so you're now contaminating the earth. And now if the water dripping through there and gets in our rivers, you're contaminating the people. Look at what happened when they had it. Where did they have that train wreck? Where the people now are all catching cancer.
Ohio.
And the federal government cleared that train wreck to be burn off all the chemicals. And now everybody's damn got cancer. So it ain't about being righteous or being well or being correct. It's about, I don't know what it's about, man. I can't even make a lie for America right now.
Well,
Wait,
yeah,
go ahead.
America is a federation of states, and the government gives the money. The government gives the money to the states, and the states determine how it will be spent. And
Yeah.
to so, like in Mississippi or in Alabama, if there's a bridge,
Mhm.
I mean, the states make a calculation on what their priorities are. If they want to, if there's a new community being built, and that community is a high tax community, they're gonna make sure that the infrastructure in that community is good.
And the
The
water treatment plant is good for that
water
community.
plant, the bridges, the roads that lead to that
System.
community, they're gonna make sure all that's good at the expense of other neighborhoods that maybe don't have that same economic impact or economic
So
face.
the
So
oldest community in San Antonio is Dignowity Hill, right there, right outside of downtown San Antonio.
yeah, I've heard of that.
Dignowity Hill does not have a drainage system. They're on it. They're installing it now,
Mm.
and they passed the bond back in 1999,
It's,
and
it's,
here it is 2024, and they finally getting around to putting the drainage system in there because every time it rains, it floods.
is that part of San Antonio?
The Dignowity Hill area.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're starting to get. They got a lot of it done now,
Who,
but
who
they just
lives
did
out?
Beautiful Street, and they had that street tore up for 2 years.
Who lives
They
out?
finally got certain pieces of it done.
Who lives out there?
I don't even want to call his name. Good. But they finally passed, and then I saw them, the little, I don't know if you've been there. You've been down to Houston Street and
I,
New
I
Braunfels, right
remember.
off the square where the statue is at, Martin Luther King statue.
Mm-hmm.
They spent $675,000 on cutting the hill down and putting the little brick around it. And I said, no, the hell they did not. But they did. They did. They spent $675,000, damn near $1 million on 3 days of work, and two people could do it. I mean, and then they didn't give it to a minority, or they didn't give it to a black contractor. They gave it to a white Mexican contractor.
Well, they just can't give it to a black. You just can't give it to a black contractor.
Well, you can't tell me that, Clark, because what they do now, they will automatically award a contract to particular people, saying that they have proven their capability, so this is why we want them to do it.
Yeah, but they can't.
Don't give nobody else a chance to do it.
But no council member can stand up and say, "Well, that should go to a black contractor."
No, of course not. I agree with you on that. They're not going to say it. They're
Even
not going to say it.
though they do it for the majority, but they would never do it for the minority. I mean,
Yeah.
again, man, we're a federation of states, and states make the decisions that impact our quality of life every day. Now, does everybody drive a highway? So the wealthy person in the wealthy neighborhood, if they got to drive a certain route, and bridge collapse, it makes no difference about color or race or economic status. If that bridge collapses, anybody could be on it.
Yeah, you never know who's on that bridge.
But the states,
you got a few more minutes because I want to talk about a few more things. If you got time.
Yeah.
All right. It made a perfect point, and then you see stuff like this submarine that went down to see the Titanic and imploded, and people paying $250,000 a head to go down to see the Titanic, and people allowing that vessel to go down that deep when they know the vessel is not properly ready to go that deep, and it's not been tested to go that deep. So all those people died because we don't want to check people with lots of money. Like, we don't want to check Tesla. If those Tesla cars got caught in that flood and the salt water hit those batteries, it catches on fire.
Yeah, but you can't. you can't regulate everything. I mean, if a person wants to climb to the tallest mountain and jump off the mountain,
Can't do shit about it.
I mean, that's his choice. You know,
It's gone, right?
we have
Yeah.
free will. Yeah. I mean, so you can't, I mean, you know, when you look at the two parties right now, I mean, the Trump position is less government, so less regulation, so less inspectors, less everything that we're talking about.
That's the way
Less,
of making money. Yeah.
right. So, you know, my whole thing is, regardless of that point of view, our elected officials that represent the black community, the black people in this country, got to stay vigilant, got to make demands, because we're playing catch up. Our communities, our schools, if our whole infrastructure is playing catch up.
So, do you have a one hitter quitter plan that we can do that will start us on the right path?
Well, I mean, most people assume that it's voting, but I think it's got to be a little bit more than just voting. You know, it's got to be. I think we have to be more engaged individually, and I just don't think that. I think most black people, we hit it and quit it. Come election time, we run into the polls, we hit that button, and then we're done for the rest of the year. We don't engage our elected officials. We don't make them accountable. We don't call Austin. We don't do nothing.
So, what can we do? I mean, what should we focus on to make some changes? It might take 10 years to do it, but right now, if I was to say, hey, we need this A, B, and C, what could I say we need? We
Well,
need our people to do what?
well, I read to you what said in 19 about our community, right?
Yeah. Read that again. Let's see what you still got it.
Yeah, I got it right here.
That way we can
This
reevaluate.
this is powerful, man. The white people of the country, as well as I, wish to see the colored people progress. Segregation is not humiliating, but a benefit, and ought to be so regarded by you, gentlemen. If your organization goes out and tells the colored people of the country that it is a humiliation, they will so regard it. But if you do not tell them so and regard it rather as a benefit, they will regard it the same. The only harm that will come will be if you cause them to think it is a humiliation. So I guess what I'm saying is, why don't we invest in the black community? Why don't we why why do our communities still look like they look like? Because we think that they're bad. Because we've been told that they're bad. Our leadership that's what integration is all about. In order to integrate to something, you got to leave something that was segregated. So everything that was segregated was bad. So anything to do with black folks is bad. Black schools were bad, so they closed them all down, made us go to white schools. Black neighborhoods were bad. Black swimming pools were bad. Black amusement parks were bad. Black hotels were bad. And then we wonder why we don't have no wealth. We wonder why our communities don't have kind of
trying to pursue them.
So we got to undo that mindset. How do we do that? And our institutions promote that.
Yeah.
That's what Malcolm was against. That's what we've had leaders that tried to tell us better, but we paid no attention to them because we bought into. I mean, you know, I work for the NWA, so I guess what I'm saying, I'm not faulting them. I'm just saying, if what we had, like, you put up that map every week. If they hadn't destroyed that, we would have left it because all them places were bad.
Yeah.
Those were bad places. Integration, we wasn't trying to make them places better.
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying, we got to change our mindset, and then we got to elect leaders there are plenty of leaders out there, man. They're writing books. They're telling us the truth.
Yeah. Look at this too, Claude. You can go anywhere in the world, and everywhere you go, you find a culture that's no 100% that culture. You can go to Italy, you can find 100% Italians in that community. You can go to China, 110% of the culture are Chinese. You can go to Japan, 100% of the people are Japanese. You can go to Turkey, 100% of the people are Turkish. So my point is, where we still have not established our footing, and we can't establish our footing being black or African American. We can't. We will never establish a footing allowing the people, our oppressor, to name us. And that's why we can't get nowhere, because we are still not people, considered people in their mindset. And we allow them
If
to,
their mindset is, what about what we believe? Forget
we,
about they
we,
that
we don't have a unified front. We can't have 25 black people or African Americans or Moors talking 25 different things. I mean, like
I,
that's why I'm saying,
I got
huh?
a question for you about
Hmm.
the why
Hmm.
did them white folks all that shit back in the day?
Why they what?
Why did the Moors give the the Europeans all that knowledge and all that info?
Because it's in our DNA, and you know it. We're not a trifling people. We believe in helping others,
I
and
mean,
we always believed in helping others.
Moors gave the
If
Europeans.
you saw a white man laying down on the street that needed help, you'd help him. I would too. If a white man saw a black man laying down on the street, he'd walk right by
A kicking.
him. He would not help him. It's in our DNA. We can't help but be the people who God made us, the original 12 tribes. And we do what our heart and our spirit compel us to do. We cannot have good conscience not helping somebody. But on the same note, if we're mad or angry at that particular moment, we're willing to do what it takes to get through that particular moment. But we have to come to a point where if we don't decide who we are, we ain't never gonna move. And they are so comfortable with us not deciding who we are. And we know we have to know that this is our land. That is the very reason they have denied everything about us to be a stable organization in this country, because they already know that some of us know that this is our land. They're
Mm-hmm.
not going to let the majority of us know that this is our land. They're going to do everything in their power to keep us from knowing, like killing our leaders. Because Martin Luther King he knew it. He said it, and it is written on the Liberty Bell, Leviticus 25:10. It tells America that you got to return the land to the people. You got to return the people to their families. It says a few other things too, but Leviticus 25:10 tells you what we supposed to be doing here. And it tells us that we are a nation. We're the youngest nation on the planet, but we have to come together in order to form our nation. If we never do that, we ain't never gonna make it out of this hole.
Native Americans got wealth. They got wealth creation. They got Indian reservations, and they run these big casinos. They got hotels. They take they build their own schools. They got
America wants them to think that this was their land, and it's not. It was ours. But they don't give us a damn thing. They've given us no recognition, no nothing. But look, they're giving them everything because they want them to believe that
but,
this was their land, and it wasn't.
but what have we demanded? We've demanded integration.
Anything we've demanded that, and they gave it to us because they know it was fuck our communities, and that's exactly what it did. We lost so much by integrating. We lost, man. We lost everything we ever had. Every step we had moved forward, it set us back 25 steps because we integrated. And that I mean, I can never. I don't want to forgive my ancestors my near ancestors for doing that, but I have to. That is what caused us to be where we are in 2024. That perception that we need to integrate. We gave up our own schools to go to their schools, and we were treated like niggas in their school. I mean, 100% like niggas. That's how they got us to go to the pipeline to prison, to put us in their schools and then send us to prison. That's what they did because they're not going to educate us in their schools. Look how hard it was to get a black person to go to one of them schools. Look at what some of the governors had done to say, we're not going to let you in our schools. These people, like what's that governor name that stood in the door? They always, when they got the strength and the physique and the mentality to do it, they're gonna tell you ain't getting a damn thing from us. Just like Mr. Otis in Inverness, Mississippi, was the sheriff. I seen him slap the shit out of a black man and pull a gun on him, slap him again, and then pull a gun back on him. The man couldn't do nothing but cry. And I'm 9 years old. That was traumatizing. But when Mr. Otis got old, he needed my sister to take care of him as an old man. Now you need us. But back then, I watched him come through one of my neighborhoods and stick his 38 out the window and shoot the damn dog. So, because we all had, dogs just used to run around our neighborhood. The kids playing over here, the dog's over here. He shot the damn dog with us not even 20 feet away.
The white guy?
Yeah, Mr. Otis. The low down is dirty ass police I ever seen in my life. I wanted to assassinate that man. Now he dead. They got what they call the grain elevator in my hometown. And my friend's daddy ran the grain elevator. He would let us go all the way up to the top. And I go up there and I wanted to see if I could see his car from the top of that grain elevator. And the first rifle I got was a 22 long automatic, a 22 long rifle. And I wanted to take that rifle up there and shoot through that back window and hit his ass in the back of the head. I'm telling you, that was then.
You can do that.
That was then. I was a good shot too. I could strike a match at 20 yards.
Yeah, but what years were that in Mississippi? You would have been out of
here today. Yeah, I know I wouldn't have been here, but I'm so glad that I never got around. I just thought that was my thought. That's what I wanted to do, but I knew I would never do it.
I wish we could talk about being in America as an American and deal with these issues that you bring up about infrastructure and say, okay, if the bridge collapses, it's going to kill us all. If the road falls apart, it's going to destroy my tires just like it destroyed your tires. But America ain't that way. I wish we could talk about America that way. I wish that there was a sameness and an equality about America where we could talk about issues more sanely, more uniformly. But we can't.
Yeah.
We can't.
I even think about India, right? India got lower class. They treat them like niggas. I don't mean to use the word freely like that, but it's the truth. You got certain Indians that look down on other Indians. And then the same with us.
But that's a class-based system. That's based on class. America's based on race, not class. Because you can live where you live. And just like the guy here, the cop pull you over. He ain't pulling you over based on your class. He pulling you over based on your race. He can see that. And
he don't deal with you based on your race. And the difference is when he pulled me over, he runs my license plate number. It's gonna say diplomat. It's not gonna say nigga. I keep using that word, but it's there. It's in the system already. You remember how they used to put codes on your application, job application, saying what you are. So no, not to interview this. Same thing in these systems that they use. Everybody know the origin of police. And now we got 18,000 slave catching units in this country. And every single police department in this country have arrested, probably killed Black people. Every single one of them, especially in the major cities.
What do you think about Black people being police in a
I
system?
think I think it's the way of life and a way of living, and black people need to be police officers. But the problem with that is black people lose their they lose who they are by becoming a police officer. Just like you lose who you are by becoming a military person. They take all that away from you and make you think that this is your team, this is your family right here. Them people out there are not your family. And that's what I thought for a long time. I was almost afraid of what's outside that gate, because of the mentality that they put in my head, being 18 in boot camp and growing into a man while being in the service. They brainwashed me. But after I come out of the service, it takes another 10 years or longer for me to detox myself and become a citizen and speak to my neighbors and get back into being a civilian. It ain't easy to become a civilian after you've spent 20 some years in the service.
Yeah, because the military make you live together. If you live in base housing, you got to live together. You got to shop together. It's a forced integration.
Mhm. And they tell you it's bad outside.
Well, I don't know whether they tell you it's bad, but I think that in the military, in some ways, it was Colin Powell that put that statue of the Buffalo Soldiers there in Leavenworth, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Powell that did that.
Mm-hmm.
As much as the Buffalo Soldiers accomplished, it took a black man in power to recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm saying, I guess what the military does, it tries, I don't know whether it tells you that we live in an ideal world. I think ideal world, but ain't no segregated base housing even back in the day. Right. When I was growing up in Selma, when Craig Air Force Base was there, blacks and whites lived in the same house.
It was segregated fields. You couldn't be in certain fields.
Right. Yeah, there were certain fields that blacks couldn't. Blacks was in transportation and this kind of stuff. Administration, transportation, fields that the white man could keep an eye on you.
And then look what they did to the 64th Regiment, that tank unit that went into Normandy in Germany, and they left them out there 180 days with no resupply, no nothing. They had to take what they wanted to keep their tanks running. And then they had so much honor and admiration for that tank unit. When they were getting ready to cross that last final bridge into Normandy, they made all the white soldiers line the bridge, and they let the 64th come through first. They let them come over there. But they won the French command, though. Go ahead.
Prior to integration, right? Did military bases segregate? I mean, did blacks and whites live together on military installations? Or were they? I never looked at.
I only know about the barrack situation, and black and white lived together and roomed together and all. I mean, you had to let your race go. But my situation in the military, I had 5 Article 15s before I had 3 years in the Army.
A Soldier Story, though.
Huh?
Remember the movie A Soldier Story?
Yeah.
Remember, blacks was in separate barracks.
Yeah. So I think it stayed like that. Even in Vietnam, they were in separate barracks. The black and the whites never slept in the same tents because black people did things to them and they did things to black people when they were in the field, and things that we would never know that happened to them and us when we were in the field. The same with being at the base right now today. They may or may not put you in the same neighborhood, but they will definitely make sure that you're not in a position to control certain people. There was 2 of us. Let me just give you a story. When I was in Nuremberg, I worked at the Defense Utilization and Marketing offices in Nuremberg, Germany. And there was.
I can't hear you.
All right, can you hear me now? I mean, I can hear you. and I'm thinking I can hear myself in my headphones. Anyway, I'm gonna tell the story, and you can come on back in when you get a chance. I was in Nuremberg, Germany, and there was an E7 white guy, Kevin Sullivan, and I'm gonna tell you the whole story. That was me, Warren Smith. At the same time, I became a E7 promotable to E8, and he did not. He was still a E7. So Bosnia kicked off. So both of us got shipped down to Bosnia. And when we got shipped down to Bosnia, I'm bringing you right back in. When we got shipped down to Bosnia, this E7 white guy and this E7 black guy, about a month and a half in, I got promoted to E8. He So within a week after I got promoted to E8, they shipped him out. Now, the agreement was we were going to go down there together and we were going to leave together. So they took him out because they didn't want him working for a black man as an E7 white guy when I'm an E8. So he got shipped back to Germany, and they left me in down there with a unit. I'm the only soldier down there working with all these civilians, Brown and Root, and all these other companies that came in to do construction, trucking companies, because I was riding back and forth to Herzegovina and all them little countries down there, bringing in supplies, taking out supplies. So I said to them, when are y'all going to get me out of here? I was supposed to leave when Sullivan left. You can hear crickets. They never did answer me. So I gave them 5 weeks to answer me. Not one word. So I wrote Thad Cochran, who was the senator in Mississippi.
Right, I remember.
Within a week, I got a response, and he talked to them. And within another week, I was on a first-class jet back to Germany. But nobody in my chain of command, all white folks, spoke to me from the day I got back to Germany to the day I got back to Fort Lewis. Nobody spoke to me. And I tried to have meetings with my chain of command, and not one of them white boys had the balls to sit down and talk to me. And I didn't care. Then they didn't want to give me my award, so I wrote him another letter. And then he said, "You'll get all your awards." And I did. About another month later, they sent me everything because he made them do it.
Thad Cochran was a reasonable. He was a reason.
He's a redneck, but he was reasonable.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was. Yeah, he had the same value system, but it was, he was pretty reasonable.
Yeah, but he did me a favor.
Yeah, but man, is I don't know what the Let's talk a little bit about Ta-Nehisi Coates. And have you read his? Have you seen his interviews?
Who is Ta-Nehisi Coates?
He's an author. He just wrote another book called The Message, and basically went down to South Carolina and wrote about I forget what he wrote about there. He went to Palestine, and he wrote about what he saw in Palestine, and he compared it to the Jim Crow South. And he said, I don't care what you say, no nation should be able to treat a people like the Israelis are treating the Palestinians. He says, it reminds me of the Jim Crow South. And he says, and they asked him, he said, well, what about the Hamas and all like that? He said, look, I'm against the death penalty. It doesn't matter if it's a child molester or somebody that just hit and run accident. I'm against the death penalty. He said, I'm against Jim Crow. He said, that's what it is. And man, they've been the Jewish community. I mean, he's been on TV, but the fallout is going to be his career is going to suffer, because basically he's saying, regardless of what Hamas is doing, because see, Israel treats Israeli Palestinians they're as second-class citizens. They don't have to be in Hamas. They can be in Israel.
They're still going to be treated back.
Right in Israel as the Jews have. That's a second-class. They're second-class citizens. So how is it any difference? And that's what he talks about in his book. And they've really been the newscasts
Mhm.
have really been the Jewish ones have really, I'm
What's the first name?
the Tanisha, Tenehisi Coates, Coates, and the book is The Message, but it's all over the media. He's been on all over interviews and you know
Mhm.
but it's the he has a courage, man, that's just unbelievable.
Mhm.
No black politician will talk against Israel. Will
That's
say,
right.
but
You're absolutely right. Even though they know this shit is wrong.
even though they know it's morally wrong, it's morally wrong. But they
So,
so
Clark, we've been here almost an hour and a half. So, go ahead and formulate your last thoughts, and you
well,
can make it as long as you want to.
I just wanted to bring that up because we started the conversation talking about infrastructure. So whether it's about infrastructure or injustice, if we don't have the leadership, if politics don't produce the leadership to address these issues on our behalf, how are we any better than we were back in the Jim Crow days? I mean, we got people with a platform now that can speak to these national issues. We got council members on city council, like here in Houston. 8 of the 16 council members are black, but they won't stand up for Palestine. They won't exercise the courage that Tanisha Coates exercised as an individual. We got elected representatives that are Congress people, that are senators, that won't speak up about the injustice. We got a president that's about to be president that won't speak up about it. So
Mhm.
I guess the challenge for us as individuals and the challenge for the listeners on BNN 247 is we got to re-examine ourselves and say, what can we do individually to make things better holistically for us all? Because if we don't hold elected, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't go to a lot of political functions anymore because I'm still trying to figure out how to do that as an individual. And how do you do that without sacrificing your loved ones or sacrificing your income,
Your livelihood.
sacrificing your livelihood? Because that has to be answered on an individual basis. Now, back in the day, we had a lot of people answer the call and they're dead.
Mhm.
Well, I don't see that today because are we too comfortable? And that's why we don't talk to the people that Chuck wants us to talk to.
Mhm.
We're too comfortable. So it becomes an academic discussion rather than a discussion that we're going to go out and sacrifice something. And I think that has to be answered. I mean, my fraternity and the sororities, because Kamala's a member of the sorority, we finally got money to get out the vote. Texas, 11 states got funded. Texas just happened to be one of them. So you've seen activity, you've probably seen the fraternity up in San Antonio doing some stuff.
Mhm.
But they should be partnering with people like Chuck Slaughter because they got the funding. But we haven't connected those dots. And I just think that we're too comfortable, and integration did that because it made it comfortable for some, and that some is a buffer to everybody else that was left behind, and that includes our communities because we all go back home. So
Mhm.
we ain't that far from that reality. Because when I go back to Alabama, or you go back to Mississippi, or we go back home, or somebody goes to the south side of Chicago and drives down Martin Luther King Drive and see all those public housing units on both sides of the highway if they haven't torn them down. I think they tore most of them down. So that reality is still there. I just think that we don't have the same individual commitment to do something about that reality like our forefathers had because we are comfortable. And I haven't figured out how to address that yet, but I'm working on it.
Okay, there you have it. You've heard Mr. Claude Foster, our co-host for the BNN 247. I want to just thank him for being here today and expressing his thorough knowledge on where we are as Black African Americans in this country, especially when we come down to talking about the infrastructure. There is so much we have to do, and in order to get something done for us, it's going to take a miracle. I don't see anything happening no time soon. And I'll put this out there too. When you put your neck out there and you stand your ground, like what is Tanetian Coates, you're going to suffer the consequences because your people are going to turn your back on you. The white people going to turn their back on you, and you will be very, very lucky to find five people, maybe even one person that will support you going against the grain, because the grain, everybody goes along because they don't have to be out in the front, but they don't say anything to stop the trajectory of wrongdoing. They allow it to go forward. Let's say, like the United States are supporting Israel to do what they're doing to Lebanon, and now Israel got another war on the other front with Iran, and it's just so pathetic that our country will say, "Well, Israel, you know you're wrong for killing people or like that. You don't need to do that no more." But on the same breath, we're going to give you $60 billion so you can not kill them again. And we do that. I mean, it's incongruent communication every which way you turn. But when you stand your ground like Tanisha Coates, you are going to suffer some consequences, but you have to be prepared to suffer those consequences because you know it's coming. And I'm a victim of that in myself because every single agency I've worked for, it's been a fight because I am not one to just sit back and allow them to be disrespectful to me or any other black for that matter. And I've suffered. I had a very lucrative job in the last two federal agencies that I worked for in a management position. But because I stood my ground and would not allow people of other races to disrespect where I'm standing and anybody below me standing, I suffered. I suffered behind it and I made it through it. But I held my own and I made sure that those people didn't have to go through what I was going to go through. And that was my objective. And Allah, God made me whole every single time. I mean, I don't care how much the suffering is. If you do it the right way, you're going to be made whole and you end up in a great place. But just do the right thing and don't allow people to be treated wrong. We got to get our transportation system set up and we got to be very careful when we travel. If you're going to go down a highway going to another city or anywhere, study that road and find out how long some of the bridges been there, find out if any work has been done, know your routes, know what you got to do, know routes around your routes, because sometimes you may have to not go the way you always go because you got a bad feeling. You have to follow that feeling. Don't allow yourself to be doing things that you know you shouldn't be doing, especially going across bridges like that Mississippi Bridge, Mississippi River Bridge, knowing people that don't have internet. We should be able to try and find out why these people don't have internet and push our councils to give them access to internet. Everybody in America should have access to internet in 2024, but that's not the damn case. We need to have a rail system in San Antonio, but we don't. They're building new highways through all the way to Austin, but that's not a rail system. Highways are built for individual cars. Rail systems are built for groups and populated cars, not just one or two people driving down the road. So the rail system, in my opinion, is 100 times better than a damn highway. I mean, because you get a lot of cars off the road and you put it all in one place.
Amen.
Airports, San Antonio Airport is nested in the middle of this growing city. In every direction around that airport is a community, a neighborhood. And yet we are pouring billions of dollars into that airport rather than going outside and doing like most major cities do and build an airport outside of all of this populace. We're not thinking about that. We study pouring freaking money into this airport. I love the San Antonio airport because they got all that shit in a damn turtle shell. It's all there. But you can't keep expecting to put 5 pounds of shit in a 2-pound bag. It just don't work. You got to go out and start another opportunity for people to grow with another airport. Passenger rail systems, electric systems. Last year or 2 years ago, we suffered that outage, and all the people that died, 80% of the people that died were black and Mexican, black and Mexican people. They died because the infrastructure is terrible in our communities. But we don't really have a community anymore. So where do we go? We can't go. Ain't no place to go in San Antonio. I don't even know if it's a place to go in Houston where all blacks go. But I think you on to something about we need our own state, but we got to start with our own city. Let's go back and take Jackson, Mississippi. Let's take it. We should all migrate back to Jackson, Mississippi and make that our home and make it a black city. Because believe it or not, the white folks are trying to take it back. Because right now, the majority of the people in Jackson, Mississippi are black.
Right.
But you got the governor of Mississippi sending in the Capitol Police trying to run a police force down in the state of in Jackson because they want it back and they can't get it right now.
Well, 87% black, I think, Jackson.
Yeah, because Chokwe holding his ground. His daddy held his ground too.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so much we could do as black folks in this infrastructure program. I mean, we've had over 95 bridges collapse in Florida. Chaplain Towers apartment complex, buildings that these companies are building collapse. Aviation, bridges, broadways, dams. We got dams that are bursting and killing thousands of people. All of our infrastructures get a C, D, or F. There are no A's and B's. C, D, or F. Ports, rails, all this stuff need to be fixed. We had Hurricane Katrina, $180 billion. We had Hurricane Harvey, $143 billion. We had Hurricane Maria, $103 billion. We had Hurricane Sandy, $80 billion. Hurricane Ida, $76 billion. Hurricane Irma, $57 billion. And Hurricane Andrew at $54 billion. Now that's what's been happening in our country, that when you put it together and you see there's a problem. That's a problem. All these damn places getting wiped out by hurricanes. We've suffered through drought and heat in San Diego and other cities close to LA where the forests are burning like crazy. Wildfires and heat. San Diego about a month ago was at 90 degrees. First time ever. They ain't never been that hot this time of year. But now it is. In the Midwest, we ain't got nothing but floods going on. All these cities are going down. And the last thing is Hurricane Ike. Don't forget that one, because it was out there too.
Yes, big.
We got Tornado Alley. We got all these things that are crisis for us here in America. With that, I'm going to hold it, and we're going to start back up another week from now with another great topic. But this is the Black News Network. I'm Warren Smith Bay, your host, and Mr. Claude Foster, your co-host. We will be back with another great topic next week. We broadcast the War Report from a Black point of view, and we do not own the rights to the music, but we do own the rights to what we say. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the this chart that I picked out that you need to know about. And I want to thank you all for being a part of this broadcast today on this Sunday afternoon. Thanks for your time and have a wonderful Sunday.
See you, brother.
See you later, Brother Clark.